Hello? Oh, sorry. Hello? Yeah, Ghostbusters, no. This is Dad's a Big Twinkie podcast. I'm filming as we're talking. You do? You have? No kidding. Oh, you ain't kidding, okay. Yeah, well, one moment, please. Thank you. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Hang on. Are you telling me that your address is 13 Mockingbird Lane? Are you having me on? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Funny enough, that address rings a bell. But I just can't put my finger on it. No. Okay. 13 Mockingbird Lane. Okay. Can I have your name? Monster. Okay. Oh, sorry. Monster. Okay. Oh, don't worry. Yeah. They'll be totally discreet. Thank you. Welcome to this week's episode of That's a Big Twinkie. Oh, that's got 10 titles.
Don't get it online. Stand by. That's a big Twinkie. That's a big Twinkie.
Yes, welcome to episode 2 of That's a Big Twinkie. Coming at you live every week, wherever you stream your podcasts from. Right, this week we're talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we're going to talk about any Ghostbusters updates that's been released. I'm really proud. I know it might not be such a big thing to everyone else, but I acquired something this week and I didn't think it was that big. I've seen it live at Comic Cons when a certain Ghostbusters group was like displaying it in their stand, and I thought it was brilliant. I can't wait. You got to see this. Yes, and this is from Trick or Treat Studios. This is beautiful. This is a big boy. This is the firehouse sign. Lights up. Oh, I think it's beautiful. And another one of my vintage. How can I say this? One of my another vintage cheap purchases, where over the past few months I've been getting Ghostbuster purchases from Vinted cheap lately. A while ago I got some of those new Ghostbuster Crocs. I'm not wearing them, trust me, I'm not wearing them. They cost me £35. Then I was lucky enough to buy a cast and crew only Frozen Empire red jacket. Got out for Vinted. That was 35. That was 35 quid. Then I was able to get the Frozen Empire baseball cap entitled Firehouse. I got that for 35 quid. There's a few stuff that I've got off of Vinted lately. There's literally 35, 40 quid. Oh God, it's been wicked. Right, so obviously episode 2. Episode 1 was released last week, and I've been having some great feedback on it. It's been more than I expected. Thank you for the viewers. Thank you for the subscribers. Just to remind people, the competition is still live to win the vintage RCA video promotional jacket that shop staff got when Ghostbusters 2 was released on VHS. you can win that. All the details are on the Road Ghostbusters UK Facebook page and the That's a Big Twinkie podcast page. Yeah, so all you got to do is like and subscribe YouTube, or like and subscribe TikTok, or join the That's a Big Twinkie podcast group, and then just comment that you've done. I'll give you a number. At the moment, we're up to 22. Up to 22 at the moment, so the odds are like, yeah. So just a massive thank you for your comments on the debut episode. Hopefully, we'll get better. And I can be rich and leave everything behind and just focus on the birds and the trees. Anyway, let's start talking about Afterlife. Obviously, when the teaser first came out, I think, like me and like many other people, thought it was going to be sequel to the 2016 female version of Ghostbusters, because obviously you hear the promo pack starting up, you see a barn, then as the camera pans in, you get the tarpaulin over this vehicle, and then the wind brushes the tarpaulin up, and you get to see the Ghost logo, and you get to see the back of the greatest ever movie car of all time, Ecto-1. And I think, like all of us, we was like, oh, matron, what is this? So that put us intrigued, and then the trailer spots started to come out. More information was released, like it was produced by Ivan Reitman, but it wasn't directed by Ivan Reitman. I know. But instead, it was directed by his son, Jason Reitman. Yeah, I think with Jason, obviously, you get to see him as a little boy in Ghostbusters 2 at the birthday party, where he comes up to Ray and he goes, my dad thinks you're full of crap, and that's why he went out of business. And obviously that's the same party where everyone cheered for He-Man instead of Ghostbusters. Yeah, so we didn't expect it, and it's like I said, didn't expect another film, because when Harold Ramis passed away, that's it. You thought, okay, that's it. No more Ghostbusters. Just leave it to like Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, Real Ghostbusters, Extreme Ghostbusters. We won't mention 2016 till another podcast. And then details are released, and trailers, and okay. Whoa. Because it reminds me of the way they done Egon for Afterlife. Was, I think, because I first saw something like that. I know I love movies, but I'm a Star Wars fan as well. It was Rogue One, what they did to Carrie Fisher at the end. And it's like they actually brought her back to match the beginning of A New Hope. And obviously that's basically like what they done for Egon in Afterlife, which was performed by Bob Garntin. And then the hand that you see steadying Phoebe when she's holding the Trino one is actually Ivan's hand. Ivan Reitman, yep. He's holding her hand, holding the holding a forearm where she's holding the neutrino wand to steady herself when she's attacking Gozer. So when they done Harold, it was like, well, we all know at the end of Afterlife, I don't care. We all cried. We all felt emotional. Yeah, so with Afterlife, There was this premiere that I was doing at Cineworld over here in Leicester Square. My group, the Road Ghostbusters UK, was invited because I got a call from to say, but I thought it was fake. First of all, I thought it was fake. So then I said to Jay, and Jay couldn't make it because he was ill. So went along. I thought, I've been invited to it. And thought I was Mr. Like Big. I've been invited to a premiere. Look at me, yeah. Oh, obviously dressed in uniform. When I went there was a lot. There was Ecto 1 outside. There was a lot of Ghostbusters, and I mean a lot of Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters. If you look Ghostbusters everywhere. And obviously they was all taking their pictures with the car, interacting with everyone, and I felt out of place. Obviously, I didn't have my psychic with me. I didn't have Jay at the side of me. I had like family members, but I just felt out of place. And then, obviously, got in, found our seats on the right hand side of the cinema. Like nearly all the Ghostbusters all sat together on one side. I sat with my family on the other side, right at the top. Then I was dying to go for a toilet. I thought, right, I ain't starting yet. I need to go to the toilet. So I went down the stairs, went through the corridor, saw these like security guards or bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, but nothing can match my dad. Right? My dad was the best security officer of all time. Anyway, and then I didn't know where the toilets were. I thought, let's hurry up. So I went past and I asked this bloke. He was with someone else, and they're like, but he was all right. He went, yeah, the toilets are just around there. So I thought, thank you. So I went to the toilet, come back, and then I wasn't allowed back into the viewing room because on stage I didn't know this, Ivan Reitman and Jason Reitman was on stage, and they stopped me for a moment while they was talking. So I managed to sneak past them and go up the stairs and come to see, and then sat and I was looking like yeah, Jason. And I'm thinking, hang on, that looks familiar. He was the one who pointed me to the toilets. He pointed me to the toilets. Oh, God. Oh, the shame upon my eyes. But, yeah, so we was watching the movie. Didn't expect to see what we saw. The movie was brilliant. The movie was everything. It was a shocker to have it come back like that. I think everyone thought, it's going to be like the female version of 2016 one, but it wasn't. It was 110,000 million billion times better. And at the end, obviously got up, started to applaud. Everyone else started to get up and applaud. Then I didn't know there was this after thing. So me and Mary, she wasn't part of the group at the time, but she come along and with her brother and my sister. And then as we left, trying to catch up to me brother-in-law and my sister, and I said, where are you? And he said, get back in here. Jason's in the bar. And I went, no way. So we went back in when it was all Ghostbusters around everywhere, getting pictures with Jason. Jason signing the invitation cards. I couldn't get anywhere near him. I tried. And then this one part opened up. He was finished signing. And as he made his way across like the floor to the side door, he had like a bodyguard and this bird. and I'll take my chance. So I went, Jason, nothing. I went, Jason. So he turned around. I apologised and I said, do you mind if I take a photo? He went, so I took a selfie with him. Obviously, still wearing a face mask, but pulled it down. Yeah, so, and then Jason went, the bodyguards tried to stop me, but I don't care. When I want something, and then that was a weird night. But, and then obviously, Afterlife brought back a brand new cast. Well, you had the OGs, like Annie Potts as Janine, Ernie Hudson as Winston, Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Peter Venkman. You didn't get to see them a lot. Like the first one you saw out of the bunch was Winston. Another one, so you saw Ray first because that's when Phoebe phoned him and then asked him questions about her granddad. And then, like I said, introduced a brand new cast. You had Paul Rudd as Gary Gruberson. You had Carrie Coon as Callie. You had Finn Wolfhard, from everyone will know from Stranger Things, as Trevor. You had Celeste O'Connor as Lucky. You had, like I said, Logan Kim as Podcast. The voice of Muncher was Josh Gad. And then you had Phoebe Spangler, played by the young, talented McKenna Grace, which I met her personally at the Yes Have Some podcast party last year before Ghostbusters Day. And then what I liked about Afterlife, nothing was forced on you. Nothing was thrown in your face. It's like it had the like family feel. It's like the shop owner. The shop owner was played by Tracy Letts, which is Carrie Coon's husband. So, and then you had sorry, I just have to go to my notes. I know I should know this. All right. There it. I know I should know this. But yeah, like I said, one of the deputies, the female deputies in the police station was Stella Aykroyd, which is obviously Dan Aykroyd's daughter. One of her lines was the Dirt Farmer's family. That's when Phoebe got a little miffed. So she got to try and start up the proton pack. Sorry, I get excited by the sound of the proton pack. The parts where Gary's in Walmart and he's trying to look for some ice cream and blah, blah, blah. And then he saw little marshmallows and he started to see a move. And this one little one popped up. And then he was poking it and it bit him. And then it fell and then they all started to come to life. The mini puffs. I'm currently showing a mini puff. These are Hasbro mini puffs. They are little menaces from him, based on him, Mr. Stay Puff. Yeah, and then that was the same location where you get to see a terror dog. But to have the terror dog munching in dog food, it's like you did expect it. And then Gary's trying to not make a sound, and then the mini puff a mini puff makes a sound, which sparks Gary, and then Gary looks at the terror dog, and then the terror dog stops eating. He turns around and goes. Ugh. So obviously, does a chase scene. Gary goes into his car, which is still missing the windscreen where it blew up from the trap incident earlier on. And then what gets me, it's when the terror dog jumps onto the hood of the car, and then he busted the tires because the tires started to go down. That was a funny part. Afterlife had so many like nostalgic elements, and especially in Egon's barn house, where you had so many nods to the films. You'd have to know what were you looking for or things. It's like one, you had these symmetrical book stacking. Like no human beings can stack books like this. That was in Egon's parlor. You also had a certain toaster, which obviously the toaster from Ghostbusters 2, that when they made it dance with the mood slime. But like I said, to have the emphasis of basing it on, say, a Ghostbusters family, most of us thought that it would be based on Oscar, because obviously Dana's kid, and then obviously it wasn't. It was based on Egon's family that he abandoned, which left animosity and by Callie. But then the way the film opened up, where Egon's driving through this field, trying to get away from like Gozer, and then you had like the entities chasing him. Then when he got back and he couldn't, this was after the truck fell over, like done a run around, and then when he thought he had it, the power went down. So I think that's when he knew that he was screwed. So he went in and took the PKE meter with the taser part, the new improved PKE. And then he sat in his chair waiting. And then obviously the entity got him in the end. But it burst through the chair just like Dana's in number one. But now after it was all said and done, and then you pan down to underneath the armchair where he's dropped the PKE, and the PKE starts to go off. And you knew that at that moment Egon was a ghost. Yeah, it's like, then you had like I said, you had Callie, which is Egon's daughter. She didn't really care for him because of what he'd done, and then he went to, and then after he died, she had to pack up the family because she was behind in the rent and that. And then when she went to the barn, a dad's barn house, and Janine walked in. It was weird because you thought that Janine would know him a little bit. I know it's like he abandoned her. Yeah, so then when the family moves to Somerville, Callie realizes that Egon was broke. So, well, in one way, all she had was the kids and the dirt farm. So she decided to stay, make like a little go of it, of, you know, doing refurbishments and stuff like that. But what I like though is when she goes to the hardware store, and the hardware shopkeeper turns out to be Tracy Letts, which is Carrie Coon's husband. Then Phoebe goes to summer school. She meets Gary. She meets Podcast. Then they was watching Cujo on the old-fashioned TVs with the VHSs. I remember that when I was a kid back in school, when we had them, it used to be a privilege, and I used to wheel it out, and it's like wooden enclosure. And then, as it went on, Phoebe that night, well, you got the chessboard, what started moving by itself. Then she found it was the trap where she had to solve the puzzle under the floor. Then she took it into I was going to say school, but let's call it school. She took it into school, showed Podcast and Gary. Gary knew exactly what it was from the get-go. He knew it was a ghost trap. He knew about the Ghostbusters when ghosts overtook Manhattan. But then he was surprised that Podcast didn't know anything, and the pod goes, "I'm ashamed." And then when I went out to open it, because it moved, it started to smoke a little bit, and it started to move, and you had this little like voice. So the three of them went outside, and obviously they was under the guidance of Gary, and Gary could get into trouble because he's the adult and he's liable. But the first time that they wired the ghost trap up, it didn't work. But it wasn't until Gary went over to it, tapped it, it opened, and it released. It released. I apologise. Not sure if it was Zool or Vince, the Keymaster or the Gatekeeper. And then, as it went on, obviously, Gary escorted Phoebe back to the Dirt Farm with Podcast, and then Callie was surprised to see him, and then Podcast found the Aztec death whistle, which nearly deafened all of them, but she said that he could keep it. Then Gary and Callie decided to go on a date. Then Phoebe discovered the pickies started to light up, so she followed where it went. She found the underground lab of Egon's, which Egon was there because he turned the light on and he was helping her, and then she found a proton pack. Then she started to say that it's missing parts, and then he was showing her where the parts was. And then she was looking around, and I think you saw pictures of Callie when she was a kid. And then Urban Podcast went outside into the open field to test what she done. And then it was from there that you heard the brand new Afterlife proton pack start up. Then that went on. Then they heard a sound, which was obviously Muncher. They went and tried to catch him, and Muncher was voiced by Josh Gad. So that didn't work. Muncher got away. Then you had Trevor fixing the Ecto-1 and going for a spin in it. Then they decided to chase Muncher. Then as they were chasing Muncher, they discovered that the Ecto-1 was upgraded to have a gunner seat. Now the gunner seat, the other one I think we really knew about was the gunner seat in the real Ghostbusters cartoon, but the gunner seat was on top. And especially where they integrated that into the real Ghostbusters toy line for the Ecto-1 back in the 80s. But that, we'll talk about the Ghostbuster toys in next week's episode. So tune in for that. So, like I said, it went on. And then they captured Muncher. Then the police caught up with them. But when Trevor was trying to find, I think it was like a logbook or something like that, as he opened the glove compartment, a Twinkie fell out. It was like earlier when Phoebe found her Egon's old suits, and she found a pair of his old glasses and a Crunch bar, which is a nod to GB1 at the university. When Peter goes, I want to take back the things I said about you. You've earned it. And he passes the crunch bar to Egon. And then you see a little smile on Ray's face. Yeah, and then as it went on, they was arrested. Podcast was excited because he's never been in a jail cell before. And then in there they saw Lucky, and Lucky was having a laugh with Trevor about he could get 2 years because he's a minor and it's his first offence. And then they caught him because Lucky's dad was the sheriff. But the funny thing is, though, one of the police officers is played by Stella Aykroyd, which is Dan Aykroyd's daughter in real life. It was that she said about the dirt farmer, and then Phoebe got the amp. Then she started up the proton pack right there, and then you had the sheriff go, "Do you want to spend another night in here?" And then, as it went on, they went home. Callie had to go at Phoebe. Phoebe had to go at Callie. All about Egon, and where she didn't tell her about it, where Egon was a Ghostbuster or a scientist. Where like some of Egon's traits was in Phoebe. And then as it carried on, you had Gary in the grocery store. Then he come face to face with the mini puffs. But that wasn't a thing. It was when he come face to face with the terror dog, and the terror dog had its head in some dog kibble, and then he was trying to be slowly, and then the mini puff hit him, and the terror dog, the way his head popped up, it was like, and then as Gary was running, the terror dog's running after him, and then Gary got into his car, but obviously the windscreen's gone because of what happened earlier with the trap. But the funny thing was, as the terror dog landed on top of the car, the tires and the car started to come down because of too much weight from the terror dog. But I think that was Vince Crawford, key master the Golza. Yeah. So and then you had Zool possess Callie. Then they met up in the field and got it on. Then Phoebe was trying to explain to Trevor and Lucky about the earthquakes. Then they went down to the thingy. They went down to the mine shaft to check it out, and then they thingy the death pit. That's when they saw Eva Shandor in a glass coffin. That's when Podcast remarked about your fingernails still growing, and then Lucky says, no, it's just your skin shrinking. And then it went on, and then basically they went and saved Callie. Then when they was getting back to the farm, Zool possessed Lucky, and Lucky turned it into a terror dog. But what gets me earlier on at the police station was when Phoebe had one phone call, she decided to phone Ray and find out what happened. And Ray explained where Egon was regular, and then it went for years and that. And then he cleaned them out. And then when Phoebe told him that Egon passed, he was devastated. But then back at the farm, obviously Gozer was coming back, and then all of a sudden you saw it. You saw the OGs. Did you miss us? Standing there in the original outfits, obviously was Pete Venkman, Raymond Stantz, and Ernie Hudson, which is Winston Zeddemore. Yeah, no, I messed up there. I know. And then they tried to capture Gozer the way they capture her number one, by crossing the streams, but it didn't work because this time she uncrossed the streams and flipped it back on them. And then Phoebe got her, and then she couldn't hold it because she kept getting pushed back by Gozer's strength, and then all of a sudden, this ghostly hand come in to steady Phoebe's arm whilst holding the neutrino wand, and it turned out to be Egon. Egon made himself known to help his grandchildren and the guys. Funny thing is, though, if you see the hand that's holding Phoebe, that was actually portrayed by Ivan Reitman. That was portrayed by Ivan Reitman. That hand is Ivan Reitman's. And it went on, and then the guys got up, stepped in. But at this point, they didn't trap her. And then Trevor was on the gunner seat. He was going to help them, but then it wouldn't work. And Podcast was trying to sort the electrics in the bag, and he was having trouble because of the mini puffs. And then all of a sudden, Podcast realised that on the Piguet, you got a taser part. So that's what he used to blast the mini puffs. And you had marshmallow everywhere on Podcast, on the machinery. But when Podcast managed to get the electrics working, Trevor had a full-blown proton, like neutrino one, like proton pack nuclear accelerator, and he was about to join the fight. But then Trevor had a smart idea. He shot the conductors, the barrels, the conductors, shot them, which that's what they needed for the power to power the traps under the earth. Callie realised it, and she jumped up, went over, and opened the traps, which obviously started to suck in all the ghosts. And a couple of the ghosts obviously was a minor ghost, and the other ghost was the bug-eyed ghost, all Ghostbusters. Yeah, because you see, and then they trap Gozer, and then Peter introduced himself. Obviously, it's like Egon didn't tell anyone. Egon didn't tell anyone about his family. But then got to the point where Egon's ghost had to meet everyone. But just before that, I remember when Egon stood by the three of them as they was attacking Gozer, and the look on Winston's face when he saw him, it's like he never saw a ghost before. It's like the time when he was downstairs in the underground station, and the locomotive was coming for him, and he didn't catch the number plate. Yeah, and then Winston said, "I miss you, my friend," and then Ray said, "I'm sorry," and I think he said, and then Pete went, "I wonder when you'll turn up," all casual like nothing. And then Egon talked to them, and then Egon went to Trevor, then he went to Phoebe and took her out of her eyes. Then he went to Callie. Callie went up to him and cuddled him, and he cuddled her. And then he slowly disappeared into the fabric of the universe. And the next thing you saw was for Harold. And it was. Afterlife was brilliant. Sorry, it's emotional as well. Yeah, next thing you know, you had a XR1 coming across the Brooklyn Bridge. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Then you hit the fire station. Then XR1 pulls in, because they said earlier on in the film that the fire station was taken over by a Starbucks, and it found out that it was Winston. I think Winston owned it or something, or thingy, and then, but I know he was still paying her for Ray's rent on Razor Colts. And then Afterlife ended with the containment unit. It started bleep, 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 bleeping, and that was it. But then at the end credits, you heard the theme music, not to Ghostbusters, but for the film, which was sung by McKenna Grace, called Haunted House. That was a good song. That was a good song. But there you go, guys. Here's my view and take on Ghost Afterlife. Join me for episode 3 next week, where I'll be talking about toys and, you know, the different lines that come out. But thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember to join the competition. And then I'll see you all next week.
Go get it online.